Hey everybody, Cat King is here again with another fantastic and exciting video. And today I was able to get a good buddy of mine, Wasabi, on the channel for you guys. So, do you want to introduce yourself real quick, man?
Hi, my name's Wasabi. I met your nice video proprietor here about, I'd say, a little over a year ago. Met spontaneously. I invited them over to enjoy some food, and
Yeah, I do remember that. That's one thing. Wasabi has been a big part of my life, guys. So to give you a picture, the way I got started on this channel, like big time, and the reason I got motivated was because of this dude right here. And listen, man, I want to thank you for that, because I think back to those moments when we hung out, and guys, I might paint this picture of like self-help and stuff like that now, like of what to do with anxiety or panic. But believe it or not, I was a complete wreck for the longest time. This dude literally took me to the hospital because I woke up and had a panic attack, and I was convinced I was dying. And this dude was there for me for some really bad times. So I've been there, and I'm sure you remember that too, don't you? God.
yeah, I mean, that, stuff like that, it's natural to think that, when you're experiencing a panic attack for the first time, everything is so different. Your view of the world changes. You think little thing you're doing is super bad. I mean, you literally woke up, were just straight puffing like a freight train on this vape with a fairly high nicotine level, and I was like, this is going to lead to something. And then, so it did. But from that experience, what did you give up? Did you get away from vaping forever, or
I did.
Did you end up going back to it?
So it's interesting to say that. So because you encouraged me and because you gave me and set me on the right path, I actually did give it up. I haven't smoked since that event. I don't even really use caffeine hardly at all. I went from being about 190 pounds at the time I met you to right now my weight is about 152 pounds. I did my personal best in a mile in about 6 minutes, and I really stepped it all around. And listen, guys, that's the thing I preach all the time on this channel is like one person can literally change your life. Like one person can literally change your life, or a group of people. Wasabi, my pastor, my partner. There's been so many big events that's happened in my life, and it's not about me, it's about all these people who have been involved. So even these bad moments, you sort of learn from it, and I'm very grateful for that. What was it? Hold on, give me just a second. I wanted to touch on something. Yeah. Oh, I wrote it in my notes. Do you remember those cinnamon toast crunch shots you showed me? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, it's either hot stuff or you can use Fireball. Fireball's it's not as sweet, but it has more cinnamon flavor. And you use rum chata. You do a 1-to-1 ratio in a shot glass.
Okay, thank you. Because that was something I had some people ask me about, was specifically like whenever I'm hanging out with some people and stuff, or I'm doing a live stream over on Twitch or something, people ask like, what is that you're drinking and stuff like that. And I have to credit to you, because it's one of those drinks that stuck with me, because not only is it so simple, but it tastes so fucking good, man.
Yeah, and you can also pick the shit up from Walmart.
No, that's the best
Kroger.
part.
You don't have to wait for a liquor store to open.
That's the best part. And so, listen, I wanted to go ahead and jump in here, right? To this conversation. So, you're about my age group. You're in your 20s, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're not.
I think I'm a year younger than you.
Oh God, yeah. It's weird to me that you are a year younger. I always tend to listen, guys. This dude is a giant of a man and super wise. So it's hard to. It was weird for me when he told me he was younger than me.
Big boy, a little over 400 pounds.
God damn, man. Built different.
No, I'm built like a fucking dad that stays home all goddamn day.
Oh shit! Listen, it's funny how quickly life has changed. Because now, I mean, like in a year, I know for me, life has been different. So I want to circle back around to something. And and again, at any time, feel free to let me know if you are uncomfortable with this. But you had a heart attack, right?
Yeah, at the age of 20.
Yeah, at the age of 20. So that was something I wanted to talk to you about. Like sometimes, listen, guys, I'm not going to pretend here. Sometimes I get questions, and so in my education, in my field of study, it's psychology, and I'm big into it, and I like to study it, and I try to do my best to answer questions. But one thing about that is, those are one of those things that I can't answer because it's firsthand experience. So, I want to ask you, what led up to that, if I may ask? I mean, because that's such a young age, 20 years old.
Well, so starting work at a really young age probably didn't help. Through all my main years of bodily development, I was doing slightly harder labor than the average person. I was getting off of school, going to work, doing stuff like that to make money. Then, working on the job site, you pick up smoking. Picking up smoking as an 11 or 12-year-old, pretty bad.
Yeah, that's really young.
Getting through middle school. Middle school was the time when I toned down on it, but around the time I was a freshman, I was able to get cigarettes really whenever I wanted from one of my friends. Then during my sophomore year, I got a connection through one of my local, gas stations. Was able to get cigarettes. Fueled my own addiction. That didn't help at all. Drinking a lot of caffeine, a lot of coffee. Coffee really gets me through the day, especially when I don't eat. Because I've also, diabetes runs in my family, shit like that. There's a bunch of stuff that really led up to it, the amount of caffeine I would intake a day, all these energy drinks. I mean, I haven't really touched.
I remember you told me something about you took a pot of coffee a day or something like that, right?
This was about 2 years prior to my heart attack. I was living alone, very depressed. The only way I would get out of bed and actually do anything was I would brew a pot of coffee. I would go lay back down. I would let it, just sit there. Wait till I was actually wanting to get up for the day. Then I would pour that coffee. Well, after it was done brewing, I turned it off. So I'm not dumb. I don't want to burn it.
Yeah.
I love the taste. But I would empty all my coffee grounds. I would fill them back up. I would double brew my coffee. And I would drink an entire pot of coffee a day.
Jesus.
It really would get me through the day. And this was super shitty coffee too, so it didn't taste good.
We're talking in one day you drink a whole pot of coffee.
Basically multiply it by 2. Because,
God.
I'm brewing it twice and doing so. And also when you brew it, my coffee pot was super shitty, so I would always have coffee grounds in my coffee. I was intaking a lot of caffeine a day. It was definitely not healthy. I was also smoking. I was smoking a pack every 2, maybe 3 days. Just sitting around the house doing nothing with myself most of the time. Not really caring about the world because, had a bunch of shit happen in my life that, just kind of all stacked, got really depressed. Didn't have anybody to talk to. Main person that I called a friend that I would be able to talk to, they just up and stopped talking with me. Didn't want anything to do with me. But I understood why later on after we reconnected, because the person they were with was very toxic and mentally abusive. So we ended up reconnecting, restoring that bond. Story for another day. Then within the next year, I gained about between 80 to 115 pounds, I want to say. And
there was a lot of factors. It sounds like a lot of them that were playing into this.
Yes, and I also was either barely eating, or I was eating so much in 1 or 2 meals that really it was extremely unhealthy. Very bad eating habits. Also, just eating the wrong things. Like it wasn't uncommon for me to just have I would have the really cheap 10-pound box of bacon, a sack of potatoes, and a bunch of flour, and I would just homemade bacon pancakes with fucking hash browns every day, all day, seasoned with sriracha or ghost pepper extract.
Oh shit!
I remember when you tried sriracha for the first time.
Yeah.
On my tacos.
That shit is good.
Yeah, you were just dumping the shit on, then you put way too much on a taco, and you're like, oh yeah, I'm done. You're like, what? That's a little too much.
You probably, that's another thing I got to give you credit for, because you got me into cooking, big time, because before that, the most I'd ever done was microwave meals, and just it was amazing how you and your partner showed me all these different cool things you could make, and it wasn't even complicated food. It was just you take a little bit of extra love and care to make this food, and not only do you save money, but it tastes way better than the microwave shit, man.
Yeah, I know you were eating nothing but ramen and Hot Pockets.
Yeah,
with some chips.
It was pretty bad. I was legit.
And also your energy drinks.
Oh God. Yeah, I quit the energy drinks because I had heart palpitations from that, and that was something bad. I had 3 bangs back to back, and I ended up going to the ER for that. So I stopped the energy drinks big time.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, terrible.
Energy drinks were, at the time of my heart attack, a really big factor, because I was getting up early, getting home late every day. I would open to close a gas station from 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. 9 a.m. Yeah, 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. And I would get discounted energy drinks, the really cheap ones that are extra bad for you.
Oh, yeah.
And I was drinking 4 or 5 of those a day, taking so many smoke breaks.
How many drinks were you having a day?
4 to 5.
God.
On top of a cup of coffee in the morning, which was some stuff that my father would have from overseas. That was, I think it's the closest thing to it is Death Wish coffee.
Ooh, yeah, I've heard of that shit.
And Death Wish coffee had half the caffeine content as this stuff. I couldn't even pronounce it. It's from Russia or something.
So this is strong shit. This is not when we talk about coffee here, you're not talking about I'm just pouring a cup of Joe.
Yeah, it equated to, the caffeine content was that of 6 cups. So basically an entire pot of coffee in 1 cup. But I would sip that over 2 hours in my morning of getting up and getting to work and getting motivated to actually even do anything at work.
So let me ask you, right? You mentioned all these different things. So I sort of wanted to go ahead and I wanted to ask you about like what was that day like exactly? Like what was that like for you? Like, can you walk me through the day? Like, and did you know that something like that was going to happen, or was it just something like that just sort of occurred? Like, did you feel normal waking up that day?
Um, so the day that it happened, I would say about 3 days prior, I kept having the same dream that, I had these premonitions. One started with me leaving the store. One started with me turning the first corner. And the last one the day before, like me during that sleep going into that day, the day it happened, it, I was on the side of the road and then everything went black. And usually whenever, things go black in my dreams, I wake up. This time I didn't wake up until my alarm went off. And that itself was really weird. And then later that night, I experienced the same thing. Every single thing that happened in my dreams up until that day was exactly how it was in my dream. Except I was aware of it. And then I started freaking out a bit, but I caught the signs early. Because I've seen friends have heart attacks and stuff like that. And, I wanted to catch it before anything happened. And luckily, one of the cops, he saw me, leaving the store. I was kind of stumbling a bit, looking extra tired. Because I usually wasn't tired until I got home. Because I was very energetic throughout the entire day with all the energy drinks and nicotine that was being pumped into my body.
Yeah.
But I usually, would sleep around 3 to 5 hours max. 5 hours was lucky. 3 was my usual. The night before I slept about 3.
So on top of all this shit, you weren't getting any sleep at all either.
No, not at all. Well, that's normal for me. I mean, even now being a dad, it's pretty normal for me to, only sleep 3-4 hours max. But my body's so used to that because I've been doing it since I was in high school. I'd get off of school and go to work. But, just all those things leading up to the point. But something that didn't occur in my dream, which occurred that night, was one of my regulars was in, and they were still sitting in the parking lot when I was leaving. And they were, heading up the same way basically to their house. They were like, well, we'll go ahead and follow him. Make sure he gets at least halfway to his house okay.
So let me ask you. So that you mentioned that was happening. So there's 2 questions I want to ask about it.
Go ahead.
So first of all, man, seriously, I'm so happy you're alive, dude. Because I'm grateful I got to meet you. I mean, fuck, dude, I can't imagine what that must have been like. And there's so I won't go too much into detail about this because I want to move to brighter stuff after this. I want to talk about recovery and like how you learn to love life after such a event. But before we get to that, there are 2 important questions I want to ask. First of all, what was it like let's say the 30 minutes leading up to it, like 30 minutes before and then during it, like did you know it was going to happen or anything like that?
Leading up to it, seeing how, having that major, like extremely major deja vu was really kind of freaking me out a little bit. It was getting my heart pumping, then just makes me want a cigarette. More and more. And, then I'm, worried I'm going to fall asleep. Think my dream was, I fall asleep at the wheel. So I chug an energy drink before walking out the door. But, because I'm a smoker, I'm used to I was a smoker at the time. I'm used to my breathing, getting heavy and, super shallow sometimes, and I cough and it's fine. But this time it was a little different. But I kind of just wrote it off as, I'm just tired. My breathing was getting, kind of really weird. My chest was starting to hurt a lot. It was getting very tight, kind of. I had a pain kind of going up into my neck and into my arm. And even just talking about it now, it reminds me of the feeling. And it's a very similar feeling to what I get whenever I have an anxiety or panic attack. Because an experience like that, it's a really big trigger.
Now, I want to stress, if at any point we can stop talking about this if you want.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
Okay.
I've talked about my story before to people in private, and if people on the internet want to hear it or whatever, I'm completely fine with that.
Thank you, because you are helping a lot of people. Thank you, man.
Yeah, no, it's okay. But leading up to it, I was getting more and more signs. Luckily, the truck behind me, my vision's going really blurry. I'm starting to not be able to focus on my thoughts. Because anytime I would have like a panic attack or anything, I could just breathe in through your nose, out through your mouth. That's the biggest thing to do, is in through the nose, out through the mouth. And when you know you're controlling your breathing, it really brings you down. Or, oddly enough, it's really fucking weird, but it works. Control your breathing and do math in your head. It really brings you down from a panic attack. Neither of those things were working for me. So I flipped on my hazards, brought my car over to the side of the road, got out, seeing, just kind of felt like I was losing consciousness. So I was like leaning on my car. I flagged down the truck that was behind me. Luckily, that guy, his daughter, is an EMT. And EMTs and or doctors have to keep their medical kits on them at all times when they're in their vehicles. So she had her medical kit on her. I was wearing a fairly nice button-up shirt. She cut it right off because she wanted to get me, try to get me breathing as good as possible, try to keep me conscious. The officer was going up to his usual post-up spot because he posts up outside of the gas station. Then he usually tails behind me about 5 miles behind me until he gets to his position that he sits at for the rest of the night, pretty much, except for doing some little rounds. But he saw what was happening. He pulled over. He radioed on for an ambulance. So one was called very quickly because we had no cell phone signal at all. We're in the middle of bumfuck nowhere. We're in the mountains, pretty much, because we're super rural, corn, yeehaw. That's it.
Yeah, nowhere, no one really nearby, no town.
No, not at all. The closest town we were near was the one I worked at, which was like an hour from my house, hour and a half from my house.
Oh God! So you were way out there.
Yeah, not really. It wasn't that far of a drive technically. It's just going through the mountains and shit, and all the winding roads, and the amount of semis that have to go down that road because it's the biggest route down. That saves them 4 hours. Yeah, it's very frequent to have a long trip.
So, my God. So, were you like conscious during that whole time then?
Barely. You know,
Sorry,
it was
say that
very
again. I'm sorry,
scary.
it cut out.
And there was one point where, you know, I was. They described it as like my eyes were kind of rolling back. Um, my breathing was super low, and my heartbeat was just super irregular. And like during that time, you know, just thinking back about it after a few days of trying to figure out what the fuck happened to me after I got out of the hospital. It kind of brought me back to that scene, and I was just standing there. I know I was sitting down, but I was standing there, and it was like my spiritual self was kind of just sitting there, just flipping through all these memories, reminiscing. And some of these memories I can't even remember anymore. Because it feels like when you skip death once, you lose some of your, you know, very fond memories from early life. Like, there's one memory that I used to love thinking about that even trying to remember it now, I can't remember. And it was one of my best memories with my dad before my dad deployed for Iraq for the last time. And I can't remember it, you know, like, but I came to in the hospital, and that lady that saved me and that officer were both by my side. You know, because I didn't have any family in the area. My dad was at home. I can't get a hold of him. But I ended up catching a cab home after the doctors were done with me. Caught a cab home, and you know, next 4 to 7 days, I was kind of just sitting there. You know, I was trying to do stuff around the house. I was bored as shit. You know, internet sucks. Get like 1 meg up and 0.2 down, so you can't really play games or really watch videos or anything. Barely surf the internet. So I try to like do dishes. I go to take. Usually I'll like put four like the main dinner plates between my fingers and just pick all of them up with my hand, just like in between my fingers each. And so I just kind of pick them up that way, put them in the cabinet. I couldn't even pick up 1 dinner plate with one hand. I just felt weak. Like, it was just ridiculous.
My God,
you know?
dude. Yeah, no, seriously. Listen, first of all, I'm sorry that you lost that memory of your dad, man. That's fucking terrible, and I'm sorry about that. My condolences.
I mean, it happens. I mean, as we get older, we lose certain memories, especially of like our younger life. I mean, I really shouldn't even remember it hardly because I was like 7 or something. And it's really hard to remember memories from when you were 7.
So, yeah, I mean, that's the thing I've always liked, man, is you've always had this positive outlook. And, like, so I got just one last question, and then we can move right to, I wanted to ask you now your outlook on life afterwards. So here's the other question related to that. And so this is a big one for me, right? So with that, did you make a full recovery? And if so, like, what exactly did they do to you in the hospital? And then after that, I'd love to move on to a little more positive stuff.
What they did to me in the hospital, I honestly don't really remember. To tell you the truth, it kind of all a blur. And, like, I seriously I can't remember most of anything that had happened.
Yeah.
Up until, like, an hour before I was discharged, I kind of was like, you know, I kind of actually came to. Because that whole time I was just, like, kind of in and out of this state of just really wanting to sleep and just think, but I didn't know what I wanted to think about.
Just wanted to think.
Yeah, I don't feel like I just had the energy to do anything or whatever. Like, I only have, like, very small fragments of, I woke up and this nurse was standing there. Go back to sleep. She's probably taking my blood pressure or something, I don't know. But it's, it's something that I thought I would think would go different. But it just didn't. Nothing really stayed in my mind up until the cab ride home. And the cab ride home, the person that was giving me a ride, it was like 2:30 in the morning when they decided to discharge me. I don't know how many days I was there, but like my dad didn't have a working car, so I had to catch a ride that morning when I got home to go get my car, and he drove us back. And the cab driver actually almost wrecked the car.
What?
Yeah, because he was falling asleep at the wheel. It really fucking sucked. Like, I was like, wow, just had a heart attack, by the way, and you're falling asleep.
Die again.
Yeah, I started to panic a little bit, and like my chest just hurts. Like my heart is thump, thump, thump. Every single heartbeat just felt like, like somebody in the marching band hitting one of those really big drums with the big hammers, just keeping everybody on beat, no matter where they are on the field. Just boom, boom. Just, it just felt heavy. Like my heart was just way overworked at the time. And so then I just tried to make casual conversation. Like the radio station, I was like, hey, that's a really nice radio station. I grew up listening to this music. It was stuff from like, 70s, 80s, 90s. Like shit like that. Basically bands that my dad got to go see in concert.
You were just trying to make sure this motherfucker did not crash and kill you both, pretty much. You were doing everything you could. As you should. That must have been terrifying. I mean, you literally just had an experience, and then this.
Well, when he goes from the far right lane on a 3-lane highway to the median on the left side of the highway within a matter of 2 seconds, that's an issue.
I mean, what are the odds that you just happen to get into the car and this dude's falling asleep? Like, that must have been one of those moments like, am I in hell? Is God fucking with me? Like, what's going on here, guys?
Yeah, like, I'm sitting there kind of like, what the fuck? Excuse my language, but what the fuck? It sucked. Like, that was and like my hospital was 2 hours from my house. Like
longest cab drive ever.
Yeah. And this man that was his first drive on that shift. Like, that man obviously didn't have time to go get his coffee.
Oh my God. I can't imagine, like, if he was that tired already. Like, hopefully he didn't crash his car while he was, driving around other people.
No, he didn't. I checked. I checked the next day for any accidents relating to a cab driver. No, he probably stopped at the gas station and got something to drink and to, fuel up.
I mean, oh my God. So, to put it simply, you had one hell of a week. There's no other way to say it, man. I mean, what you experienced, like, you've lived like a million lifetimes in such a short amount of time. It just, oh my God, I don't even know the right amount of words. I don't even know what to say besides, like, Holy shit, man! Like you've
Yeah.
lived something that everybody else can only imagine.
Yeah, I know, right? I mean, I kind of wish I had actually died after getting that medical bill, but it got written off.
America's healthcare system, huh?
Yeah. I mean, I'm still trying to get Medicare or Medicaid, whatever it's called. I still have to take the time to actually sit down and go through all that, because I should definitely qualify now that I'm a little older.
You know,
But,
when we get off
after
here,
that happened,
now hold on. I'm gonna interrupt because I'm only interrupting because it's actually very important, and I want to write this down. I can help you. I've helped other people, like because I'm on Medicaid myself. I had to help a couple buddies who needed help with that. After this call, I can help you. It's a lot simpler than people think. I can give you the number and stuff and tell you what to do. It only takes like 30 minutes.
oh yeah, my fiance can too, 'cause she was on it through her entire college career.
Okay, great.
It's just taking the time, remembering to take the time, like between my college work, my son who has 6 teeth coming in right now. It's hell, a little bit.
God, yeah, that's a full-time job right there, man.
Oh yeah, trust me, I know. I'm the stay-at-home daddy.
So, let me ask you something, right? You mentioned, first off, again, I know I've said this before in the past, but hey, congratulations on having a child. I know that's a big thing for you. So, let me ask you, so you had a few different things that have been huge for you, right? And I want to ask you, how different is your outlook on life between the heart attack and then between having a child? Like, how different do you look at life, and how different has it changed in the way you live your life now?
I mean, life is still stressful as hell. I'm trying to get my life back on track to, lose weight, because we've had some things happen to us recently that really brought us down financially. Like, we lost our car for 2 weeks and shit like that.
Yeah.
Basically, all this shit just piled up when we were finally like, we're in a good spot. Let's start actually planning for our wedding and whatnot. But, it knocked us back down a couple $1,000s and stuff like that. And, like, what do you do? Like, what can you do when life hits you like that? All you can do is keep standing. And the thing that keeps me standing the most is the look on my son's face when he's crying, and it lights up with a smile when Daddy walks in the room to pick him up after a nap or after he's done sleeping.
You're such a good guy, man. It's always been a pleasure having these conversations with you.
Yeah.
And listen, your wife, your son, like, I wish the best for them too, because, I mean, dude, in this world, I've met a lot of people. I've had the opportunity to talk to a lot of people, and you're one of the most selfless individuals. Like, everything you've ever said, everything you've ever done has always been in the pursuit to make other people good, and your reasons for living are very selfless. And you just don't meet that sort of, like, generosity in this world. You don't meet a lot of people like that.
Yeah. I mean, I could have a free ride to the best college for psychology in the U.S. right now, but
Ooh.
I chose not to. I got that offer when I was in high school, because I would go to school every single Friday with a pack of Sharpies, various colors, because everybody wants a different color to be themselves. I would have either a fresh white shirt, or I would have some kind of tank top on or whatever. It was most likely white, and people would draw on my arms, draw on my chest, where they wanted to draw on my shirt. And because, especially high schoolers, the thing that is hardest for them to do is to talk about their issues, because they're not taught how to do those things. Most people don't have a person to open up to. And school counselors, they don't want to go to them because school counselors, all they're going to go and do is go to their parents. So I was that medium. I told them, biggest thing that's bothering you this week, write it on my shirt, write it on my body. By the end of the day, the amount of weight that was on my, just emotionally, that was written on me, drawn on me, on my shirt, my skin, was heavy. It honestly felt heavier than a 400-pound bench press, which I've done.
So to say this impacted you heavily is putting it lightly.
Very much so. Seeing just some of the things that you see that, you know, these high school kids, you know, a lot of the kids that I went to that came to me were freshmen because, you know, they're scared. I'm a senior. They're freshmen. I was basically big brother to most of the freshmen in the school. And, you know, I did that throughout my entire senior year after the first month of school. I decided, you know, this is something I should do. And the amount of horrible things that I would see written on me, which is probably another video for another day.
Actually, one that I would love to look forward to, and we can, when this ends, we could talk about maybe setting up a day and time for that as well, man.
I mean, any kind of video that you want, or podcast, or anything you want to do, feel free to ask. I have time. I'm at home all day. My nights are usually free after around 6, 7 p.m. our time for a little while.
Okay, great. I will take you up on that. If you're serious, then 100%. I'll write that down. I'll take you up on it, man.
Yes, I won't charge you too much.
Hey, charge whatever you want, man. This is good. I really don't mind. Seriously, this benefits me too.
I know. I mean, it's like that it's like that give and take relationship that we were gonna have when we first met. You were like, "Hey, you want to be my personal chef?"
I do remember that. You were just you were really good at cooking, dude. So, it was interesting to say that because, listen, guys, Wasabi actually helped me learn, so when I was hanging out with them, one thing that really was weird was I never realized how many of my friends actually hung out with me for money before I met Wasabi, because I was under the impression that I had to buy them all these nice things and stuff, or do all these nice things, and they just hung out with me just for the sake of it. And that was one thing that really was kind of weird. You showed me what a friend actually meant to have. It wasn't somebody who just came over so you could go out and buy nice shit for them or go to the mall and stuff like that.
Yeah. I mean, when you first met, when my fiance first met you, she really did not like you at first, I'll be quite honest, because you had this persona about you for being rich and snooty and throwing money around. And we're both from very poor families. She didn't like it. But, I explained to her. The way we grew up is different. Everybody grows up differently. And, she can definitely respect that. And I see where... And we've talked about some of your experiences. I don't know if you've talked to your viewers about some of the things that you've talked to me about. But, everybody's different. Everybody goes through very different things. I'm not a good cook. I'm good at cooking at home. I'm good at making homemade meals. I'm not a chef by any means whatsoever, but food is something that people, bond over, and it's a good talking point to get people together.
You know,
which we should try to do sometime.
absolutely. And hey, listen, man, absolutely. I got free time. You let me know the date and time, and I'll be there. And listen, I'll say one thing that really changed my life was, so it did cost me pretty heavily financially, when I cut off my parents, because they weren't actually good people. They were like the type of people who would like, I don't know if this makes sense, but they, especially my mother, would not actually take care of me or accept me for the way I am or anything like that. She would just throw money at the problem, literally, and didn't actually play the role of a mother. And I thought that was like good parenting, you know what I mean? Because it's like, so I'd buy a new gaming system or something like that, or I'd buy myself new designer clothes. But like now where I'm at, I don't have that type of money, but I'm a lot happier because I'm not surrounded by people whose entire thing is based around what do I have. It's more of like the character quality of like the person you are. And that was something when I met you guys that really changed in me, was it made me start looking at the relationships I had. The people who were supposed to be my friends were really just hanging out with me because of the money. And then, you know, no disrespect to my mother, I love her. I do love her, but she never really played the role of a mother. It was more like, you know, hey, here's a couple $100, you know, get out of my face, go to the mall or something.
Yeah, you know, everybody has this because of an older generation. Well, the older generations, everybody thinks that because they're family, you have to love them. You don't. You don't have to have the same respect if they don't show you that respect. Just because you're family with somebody doesn't mean you have to, you know, love them. It's something that's very hard to wrap your head around. But like my mother hates her mother. Hates her. Because of the way she treated her.
Yeah.
My ex-stepfather, he called his mother an egg donor. That's all she was to him. Good job. You gave birth to me and you left. Whoop-de-doo is basically what he sees it as. He, you know, and they both made, those two things made me realize, you know, just because you're family doesn't mean you have to like each other. It's just like, you know, I don't have to like you. I don't have to. But I do. We're friends. I know we don't talk very often. We don't get too much of a chance to because, you know, we have lives. But I'm going to say it how it is. If I don't like something about you, I'll tell you. You know, I didn't tell you about, you know, the things that my fiance didn't like at first because, you know, you were still going through a tough spot mentally and emotionally at the time, and you had somebody, you know, tugging on your heartstrings. And I understood that, and I've been in that position before, and I wouldn't want to be kicked while I was down. You know, just all these things. We're all human. Do I care if person A or person B like each other? No. Do I care if person A is my mother and I like person B as well? Do I have to not like the same person that my mother likes? No. I can still like that person or my partner. It doesn't matter. We're all human. We all have our own opinions. Just live our lives. Don't care about what other people want you to think. Same thing about you not buying designer clothes anymore. The last piece of clothing I bought was a pair of pants 3 years ago at the thrift store for 25 cents because they were on sale for 90% off. That's it. It's the last pair of pants I ever bought.
Listen,
they're ripped. All to hell.
That's so much respect for that, because you guys are appreciative of just the simplest things. And like, back to that point, I know I said it before, but to be honest, you know, in regards, oh, excuse me, getting over a cold. In regards to your wife, She was right. I was a rich snob. I really, really was. And that's just like you said, and you know, it's the truth. I was brought up in that type of like environment where,
Yeah.
you know, everybody has money and shit. And now, it's like I don't have that type of money. I don't have nearly that type of money. In fact, my partner is the breadwinner, you know, and works like a blue collar job.
I mean, so does mine.
But, you know, I'll say I'm a lot happier now because I left that life because, you know, like I said, those people were literally just throwing money at me. They didn't actually care about me. And it's not like they were real friends, because it's not like when I'd have like panic attacks or go to the psych ward and stuff, they were there for me. They didn't care about that. You know, they weren't a fan of that. They were more like, okay, you know, do this and that, blah, blah. And that was a really humbling experience. It was just like, again, this is going to sound crazy to some of you guys out there, but right now I'd rather be where I'm at, where I'm poor and happy, than where I was, you know, where I was wealthy and sad. Take it from me, I'm not just, you know, Wasabi got to know me, I had money, like I had some money like that, so I'm speaking from experience. It didn't make me happy. I was miserable because I didn't have a good partner, and two, I didn't have, like you said, you don't have to like your family, but for some reason I thought, you know, well, family's family, you got to stick with them. And that's just not the case. You can let family go, guys. You really can.
It's something that's hard to wrap around because, like, it's the same thing with, like, you know, anything in society. It's not a normal thing, but really what even is normal? Normal is what those around you think. Just surround yourself with people that are like-minded, and that'll be the new normal for you.
Thanks, man. Well, listen, I do want to come back to this very soon, actually. So once we end this, I would love to set up another date and time for this. Unfortunately, This has gone over a little bit longer than I expected. My partner's going to be home soon, so I got to hop off here. But I just want to ask you if you had any closing statements or anything that you wanted to add to this.
God, that in itself is a loaded question.
Then, on that note,
you know, find things that you enjoy and do them to make yourself happy. Focus on what makes you happy first. Like, what makes me the happiest is making sure my family is happy and taken care of. You know, that's the thing that brings me the most joy, is when my fiance is happy. She's, you know, anything to make her happy, that makes me happy in return. But everybody's different. Always try to find ways to de-stress, to get through your anxiety. Find what triggers you, and find the things that help. Like me, whenever I have a really bad week of anxiety or anything, I like to go sit in the shower. I sit in the shower, have the shower running on my head and whatnot. It's very relaxing. It's like I'm, you know, just sitting in the rain thinking. Things that can bring you down from a panic attack. Breathe in through your nose, out through your mouth. You know, you can find all kinds of things online. It's very easy to do. One thing I found is that doing math calculations in your head really brings you down because your brain actually has to think about something else. But, you know, doing Google searches. Google's such a big thing. It's a really big help to everybody. Just, you know, use it. Find things that'll help. Because you can prep. Believe it or not, you can prep for a panic attack. And you can slowly learn how to bring yourself down. And the more you do, the quicker they're over. because I know they're very scary. Talk to people about issues. Don't keep them bottled up. Keeping issues bottled up is what led to, my heart attack happening. It's a really big thing, is keeping my emotions bottled up. But if you need a therapist, that's okay. It's normal. There's a therapist is a job for a reason. But do not be afraid to help yourself. Because I've lost plenty of friends this year, in the previous year, to not only COVID, but also suicide. Or other means that were controllable and that could be helped. Just take care of yourselves. And that's about it.
Well, listen, man, I want to thank you again for coming on. I appreciate
no problem.
it. And I'm sure everybody else here does too. Because, sometimes we get caught up and we think that, we're doing this alone. So it's nice to have this. But, again, thank you, man. And until next time, man, I will talk to you later. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Later, man.
Bye.